What is up, everybody? I have officially decided it is time to come back. I've been grinding some poker, a lot of swingy sessions, some huge wins, and some pretty big losses. But all in all, since, pretty much grinding the poker table more, I have come to the conclusion that I miss you guys, and I do enjoy uploading content. So I think we're going to get back to a normal schedule here of uploading once to twice per week. And yeah, I hope you guys are still here for the ride. And today we're going to be playing some 5-10. It's Saturday. I'm ready to go. I haven't played 5-10 in a couple weeks. Feel like I'm due for some run good. And you guys will be the witness to whatever happens. So without further ado, I'm ready to get to the poker table. Let's go. I'll see you there. Excited to be playing some 5-10 today. We sit right down and we get dealt the 9-8 of clubs. There's a couple limps before me, and I decided to take the unorthodox route and go ahead and limp as well. At this particular table, it's kind of tough to explain, but I'm going to be raising a little bit less often than I would. But anyways, we flop a monster with 7-10-5 with 2 clubs, so we flop a open-ended straight, a flush draw, and a gut shot straight flush draw. Luckily, we don't have to do the betting yet. Someone to my right goes ahead and leads out for $50, and then 4 of us actually go to a turn card. And I debate on putting in the raise on the flop, but I would like to keep everybody in right now and kind of see where the hand goes. Turn comes, the 3 of clubs giving us the flush and a 5-way hand here, so feeling pretty good. It checks to me. I'm still in early position here compared to everybody else, so I decided to check, and unfortunately it checks all the way through. Off to a river card, which comes the Queen of Hearts. Doesn't change anything, obviously. And when it checks to me, obviously I'm not going to be letting this check through again. I decided to put in a pretty healthy bet size, almost a pot size bet of $200. Everyone seems like they're either going to have a nice hand or not really strong at all, so might as well go big. Only the small blind makes a call, and we flip over the flush, and we are good to take down this first pot. This next hand is pretty interesting, to say the least. I'm in under the gun +1. Look down at a little bit better hand with Ace Queen of Hearts, and I raise it up to $40 and get 3 callers. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Don't mind playing this hand out of position. Really strong hand, feeling comfortable. To Ace Queen 2. We are first to act, and I think there's always merit to betting, of course. You can always go that route, but with this table dynamic here, I think my hand works better as a check because I'm first to act and have 3 people behind me. So that's what I do. I decide to check, and the next to act throws out a very small bet of $20. Kind of throws me off my game a little bit. And one of the players folds, the other puts in the call for $20, and then it's back on me. And I don't think I need to raise very big here right now. I decided to just bump it up to $75. And again, the small bet kind of really threw me off my game. But that's what I do, raise it up to 75. The original better here on the flop puts in the call, and then the next guy folds. So we're going heads up to a turn card here, which is the King of Spades. Pretty good card for me, all things considered. Still have a very strong 2-pair, and he shouldn't have really Ace-King ever. So I decide to lead out for $200, and then oddly enough, it sends the opponent into the tank. And he says, I feel like that turn card really just helped you out. And he looks me in the eyes and says, I'm going to fold Ace-Queen to you. And then he starts talking to me. He's like, dude, you got to show me what you have. We're table mates. Very surprising he folded Ace-Queen.
I'll never bother you again. I don't care if you got it or not.
Fucking A, we got
And I show him the Ace-Queen. Cannot believe he laid that down. These check raises really get in people's heads, but yeah, he folds the Ace-Queen. You can tell from his reaction that he actually did fold Ace-Queen. He's a table mate. We have a lot of history together. Nice guy, but yeah, probably really kicking himself for that fold, as I would be. Just a short time later, we are under the gun and we look down at the beautiful pocket nines. Nothing to do here except raise it up to $40. I get one caller and then I get 3-bet from across the table over there to $160. So things are definitely heating up here a little bit. I'm definitely not going to be folding. I put in the call and the other opponent doesn't think long at all and puts in the call as well. So we're going 3 ways to a 3-bet pot, which comes pretty interesting with 7, 8, 4 rainbow. So we flop an overpair. I check, the other guy checks, and then the button, the pre-flop 3-better, bets out $400. So almost a pot-sized bet. Looks really strong, but at the same time, what do I do with pocket nines? I mean, I didn't call a 3-bet to flop an overpair and then fold to a bet on the flop, right? Kind of sucks because I have a guy behind me. But at the same time, I'm just never going to fold here. I put in the call, and the other guy snap folds, which is good news. We can definitely still have the best hand here a lot of the time. And off to a turn card, which does not change much with a board pairing 7. Obviously, don't expect him to ever have any 7s. And yeah, still feeling pretty good about my hand, especially when I check, and he pretty quickly checks back. The river brings a 10 of hearts. Not the best card, but I don't think he's going to have too many 10s. At this point, I put him on ace king, ace queen suited, those kind of hands. Nothing else to do except check. He shakes his head and checks back, and I immediately flip over my pocket nines, knowing that we're good. And we take down a pretty decent sized pot with our overpair of pocket nines. Let's go. Off to a bomb pot finally. And let me know what you guys think about these, by the way. Do you like watching them? Do you not care for them? Let me know what you think. They are a little tedious to edit, but if you guys like them, I'm more than happy to keep doing them. But anyways, bomb pot, $25 each. And we go to a beautiful flop of 2-2 king on the top and ace 5-9 on the bottom. Even better than that, it checks around to the cutoff, who bets out $75. And we get a bunch of people to call. So we're going like 4 or 5 ways to a turn card. I'm not going to raise here. I mean, I'm never, ever getting scooped. So pretty much I just want as many people in there with as much money as possible. So I flat call off to a turn card here, which does not change too much. Brings in no straights, no nonsense. Like I said, I have quads and 2-pair, feeling really good. It checks through on the turn, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to be doing the dirty work here on the river. And the river pairs the board with 7s and brings a straight possibility on the other board. But I'm not too concerned about that, like I said. One guy decides to bet out $200, and I am not going to stand for this. I love my hand. And yeah, we're going to raise it up. I asked the dealer what the pot is. He says 1,000, something like that. I don't know. I just decided to go ahead and count out a healthy stack of black chips and put in the raise to $800 after taking forever and a half to count these out. It is back on the guy over there to the left. He thinks for a minute, reluctantly, barely folds his cards. It's back on the guy to my right. He snap calls and says, "I'm pretty sure we're chopping." I say, "Yeah, probably." And then I look at his hand and I see 2 7s. He has quads and I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to get scooped. And then, luckily, somehow, we win the other board with ace 5 with our 2-pair. Holy smokes, this is why I hate bomb pots. You can get quads over quads and it's no big deal. And a lot of swings can happen, but luckily we had equity on both boards, which is what I always recommend if you're putting money in there. Have equity on both boards. Do yourself a favor. Save yourself some money. So luckily we chopped this up. Still managed to turn a decent little profit here. But yeah, moving on to the next hand. Quick little intermission. I took a little break to eat some food for the first time today. Couple hours in, and I don't know exactly what my chip stack is at, but I know I'm sitting over 4K right now, like maybe 4,300. So hopefully we can keep running good. The table is great. The action's great. Nice people. A couple like passive people, but also a handful of people that are like willing to get a lot of money in there and put you in some tough spots. So healthy mix of people at 510. Hopefully we can keep running good. We have quite a bit of the session to go, and I'll keep you guys updated. I'll talk to you soon. So getting back to what I'm more comfortable with, and that's Hold'em, I look down at King Queen offsuit on the button. There's a raise from a newer guy that just sat down across the table to $40. I think there's always merit to 3-betting this hand in position, but I decide to just take the more passive route and flat call, and we go to a beautiful flop of 3 deuce king, and yeah, feeling good, obviously. He decides to check, and again, it's kind of one of those in-between places. I could always bet out here, but I'd hate to get check raised, kind of get put in an uncomfortable spot. And I'm not too worried about anything else on this board right now, so I decide to check back, give him an opportunity to bluff, and see what he wants to do on the turn. And the turn comes the 9 of hearts, and at this point he decides to lead out for a almost pot-sized bet, $75. And I decide to just flat call. Again, I'm in position. I can always see what develops here on the river, and not too worried about anything else coming up on this dry board. So put in the flat call off to a river, which comes a nonchalant 5 of hearts. Ace 4 gets there for an unlikely straight. Think he would have bet that already. He checks to me, and I decide it's time to go for some value, maybe from some non-believing lower pocket pairs, and I go ahead and bet $175. Not going too big. Want to give him an okay price to call. And he's thinking for a moment. He's grabbing some chips. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But he puts in a check raise, and a pretty sizable one, to $550. So I'm like, what in the world is happening? Like, what's he trying to represent here? You know what I mean? Like I said, Ace 4 gets there. I mean, any real value hands he would have been betting. Like, and then why would, if you had so much value, I called you on the turn, why would you check the river? You know, so it's like, what are you representing? Maybe turning his hand into a bluff. It's really odd, and it just doesn't feel right. And if he spikes something, then whatever, take my money. And I put in the call, and he flips over pocket fives for the rivered set. Still played it pretty weird nonetheless. And yeah, we get deflated, our first major loss of the day. And he takes us to Value Town with a rivered set. Maybe could have played it a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time, you can't be scared of stuff like that happening. All you can do is brush off your hands and move on to the next one. This next hand, we look down at something a little bit better. Pocket Kings, and there's a raise under the gun to 25. Again, odd raise sizing. And I 3-bet in turn to $75. And that entices 3 other people to make the call. So we go 4 ways to a flop of Jack 9-8 on a pretty connected board. I'm not going to be slow playing this, so I continue on for $100 and get snap jammed on to my left for around $600, and I'm like, ah, this just feels gross. It's the same guy that folded Ace Queen earlier for the 2 pair in the, I believe, second hand of the video. So it doesn't feel great, man. And I even laugh after everybody else folds, and I tell him, man, if this were any other person, I would snap you off quicker than you knew what just happened. But what can I do here? I mean, and a snap jam raise, I mean, a snap all in just is not that strong. You know what I mean? Like it's perceived as strength. A lot of people try to do it to look strong, but you know, on a deeper level, it's kind of weak. You're trying to over rep your hand a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. To this guy, it just doesn't feel great. So call me a nit, but you haven't played with this guy like I have. And I tank for quite a while. But ultimately, I come to the decision that I'm not going to fold this hand. I'm just going to have to muster up the courage and put in the call. I ask him if he wants to run it once or twice. We're table mates pretty much every 5-10 games, so we agree to run it 2 times. The first run out comes not the best, puts a 4-liner to a straight out there, 7-5. Next one is 6-8, keeping it low. I have no idea if we're good or not, and he pretty confidently flips over Ace Jack. So we scoop this one. I was very surprised that he shipped it with Ace Jack. He said he put me on Ace King or Ace Queen, something like that, and we scoop our buddy here in a pretty sizable pot with our pocket kings. This next hand, there's a limp under the gun to $10. I look down at a very pretty looking hand to me, King Jack of Spades, and we're not going to be limping this. We raise it up to $40. Everyone folds all the way around to the limper, and he puts in the call. He just sat down. He's a pretty wild action guy, fun to play with, and even more fun when we flop top 2 pair on King Jack 9. He checks. I bet 50. He snap calls Turn is beautiful with the three of clubs, changes nothing. He very quickly checks again. I decide to go a little bit bigger here for $150. He once again snap calls. A little concerning, but I would have expected to hear a raise by now if he had a better hand. When the river brings a two of spades, changing nothing, I think for a moment, is my hand good enough to go for three streets? And I think definitely yes, but not too big of a bet. I want to keep it easy for him to call. I bet out 275, and he says, nice hand after slipping in the snap call once again. I believe he shows king 8 offsuit or suited, I'm not sure. But he had a king. Think we played it about as good as we could there and got max value. This next hand is definitely the most insane of the night. There's a raise under the gun to 35. I think one person calls, and I bump it up to $110 when I look down at pocket jacks, and I get three callers. So we're going four ways to a flop. Gotta love this table of ace, queen, jack. And I think, once again, this could get very expensive. And even more so when somebody donk leads for $200. Next to act calls, crazy guy to my right snap calls, and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do here? This is a pretty dicey situation. I am thrilled to have flopped a set, but at the same time, there's a lot of people in this hand, and I could be running right into the nuts. I think about raising huge here to like $1,200, but ultimately I decide maybe let's not run right into it. Let's just put in the call, see what develops. Not loving the situation, really. Especially when the turn comes, another spade. Five of spades hits the board. The initial better, the one that I was most worried about, slows down and checks, which is a good sign. Other player quickly checks, and then the wild guy to my right snap bets out $1,100. And boy, this is one of the tougher spots I've been in at the poker table, I think. I think there's a good chance I'm ahead of him. Could always be behind, but just how I feel, I think I'm ahead. And then I have two people after me facing a huge bet in a huge pot. We're playing very deep here. The guy to my right, he only has like 300 something behind, but the two players across are both pretty deep. What do I do here? I mean, if you got like pause the video now, let me know what you guys would do in this situation. I think about folding. I think about jamming all in to make it look like I have the flush and maybe fold out the straight that's out there. But again, I could be running into the flush across the table, and a straight is going to have a hard time folding even if I jam. So after thinking over for a long time, I decide to kind of reluctantly put in the call. I'm not sure what else I could do. I don't know. I think all options are on the table. Fold, raise, call. Either way, very, very tough situation to be in. I put in the call, and the lady across the left that I was most worried about is in visible agony, and she's the one I was most concerned about. At this point, I think she definitely has a straight, and I'm just thinking, please fold, please fold, please fold, and let me go heads up to the guy to my right that I'm most likely ahead of. And she tanks for quite a while. After about 2 minutes of thinking, she decides to count out a stack of black chips and put in the call. Think my fate is officially sealed, not feeling good. And the other player snap folds, and even worse, when the river comes, another spade. I hate my life. He puts in $300. When the other spade comes out, the lady across the table is in visible agony. She is disgusted. I know she doesn't have a flush. I know she's not too strong on this board at this point. What do I do here? I mean, I have to call 300 to win like $1 million. I put in the call, and she, after thinking it over for a minute, reluctantly decides to put in the call as well, bringing the pot total to $5,440. My guy to my right happily flips over ace of spades, two of hearts, and our opponent across the table shows king 10. My read on the situation was exactly correct. And this, not gonna lie, guys, feels like a total punch in the stomach. All my profit on the day had just been torched away in this massive pot. Now we're, instead of being up like $1,500, $1,700, we're down like $300. Man, This I just remember how bad this felt, and really unfortunate, man. Really unfortunate. I got up a short while after this to go on a walk and clear my head, and decide that I'm going to come back, stick it out. A lot of action at the table, and I can definitely get my profits back as long as I play well. And yeah, what can you do, guys? Sucks, unfortunate, but my hands were tied, I think, on pretty much every street. And yeah, moving on to the next hand. That's all we can do. After clearing my head for a little bit, coming back with the proper attitude, ready to get my money back, I look down at ace 10 of clubs. I'm done with the limping. There's a couple limps before me. I raise it up to $50 in position, and we go 3 or 4 ways to a flop. Don't remember exactly what. To queen, jack, 8, rainbow, one club out there. The gentleman to my right donk bets into me for 75 bucks. I'm definitely not going to be folding this with the draw that I have and some backdoor potentials. I put in the call, everybody else folds, and we were heads up to a turn. He slows down with a check, interesting enough, and I think my hand is good enough to bet as a semi-bluff. Definitely probably behind, but he doesn't know that yet, and we have potential to the nuts. And I think if I hit any ace here, I'm going to be more than good. So I go ahead and bet out $150, and he snaps me off, and we are off to a river card, which comes a beautiful king, giving us Broadway, and he checks once again, unfortunately. I decide to size up a bit here, not because I'm steaming at all or anything like that, never me, and decide on a bet size of $475, thinking he likes to call, but he unfortunately folds it down and says, "You got it, nice hand," and we scoop this one. So I'm not gonna lie, I ended up getting a massage shortly after that last hand, and definitely dropped the ball on recording a number of hands for you guys. And but the theme is I've been playing well, I've been getting in good spots, getting some good cards, and I've grinded my chip stack back up quite a bit. Instead of being down 300, at this point I'm up like 700-800 bucks again, something like that in that neck of the woods. But yeah, we got some good momentum going our way. Things are going our way since that big loss, and we're grinding our way back. And we get another opportunity when we look down at Pocket Kings. Life is good, and even better when I see a couple limpers, and the guy to my right raises it up to $50. I'm not going to stand for this. I go ahead and put in the 3-bet, of course, to $175. And one of the limpers cold calls, and then the fella to my right can always count on him to come through. He puts in a call as well, so we're going 3 ways to a flop here, which comes pretty decent, 6-9-4. Gentleman to my right checks. I go ahead and decide to check this one, be a little tricky, just like I would with all my missed hands. And the fella to my left unfortunately checks as well. And the turn is a king, giving us top set. Good news, even better news when guy to my right leads out for $125. I put in the flat call, hoping to keep all his bluffs in and maybe the guy to my left, but gentleman to my left folds. And then on the river, he unfortunately slows down with a check. I bet out $400. He snap folds, so not the biggest pot in the world, but nonetheless, we take it down. Back up a decent amount now, and it leads us to our last hand of the session, which is, for better or worse, a bomb pot. Ace, Queen, Jack 3, seen better hands, seen worse hands, but I've seen not too many better flops with Queen 3-3 and Ace 9 Queen. The flop comes. I did not get it recorded, but somebody bets out 100. Like 5 people call. I decide to just flat call on the button in position, and to a turn card, which is a 4 of diamonds and 7 of spades, does not change too much as far as the context of my hand. Feeling like I have the nuts maybe on both boards, and everyone slows down now. It checks to me on the button, and I go ahead and go for just under a half size bet, wanting to keep all hands in there pretty much of $350. And a couple people fold, but not everybody. Not everyone is fully deterred in these. People love to get in there and gamble away. And we end up getting 3 callers. So we go now 4 ways to a river card here, with a massive pot brewing for my last hand of the session. Double check our cards to make sure we do have the hand that we have. And what do you know, it hasn't changed. Off to a river card, which does bring in some slight other possibilities with the hearts up on the top board. And now we lose to pocket queens on the bottom, which is unlikely, pocket sevens and pocket fours. So we don't really have anywhere close to the stone cold nuts, and you really want to navigate these carefully. It checks all the way to me, and I tank for a little while. I ultimately decide to go ahead and just check it back and see where I'm at. I don't know if I'm going to really be in that great a shape if I make a huge bet and get multiple callers, or especially if I get like jammed on. I would feel disgusted. So I decided to check it back. I flip it over, and we definitely, unfortunately, missed some value. We probably could have potted it and scooped it because we are taking the queen 3 board with the full house, and a set of nines takes the flush potential board where I have ace queen. Painful. Definitely missed out a little bit there, but at the same time, you know what the saying is: pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. I try not to be a hog. And we take back all the profit plus some for our session here. Go to the register and end up calling it a session. Low quality outro time. I hope you guys really enjoyed that session as much as I actually really enjoyed bringing it to you. Feels right. Feels like it's what I'm supposed to be doing, is making content, bringing it to you guys. So I hope you appreciate it. Hope this was a exciting vlog for you guys, especially me being gone for like 3-4 weeks now. I'm gonna get back to a normal schedule. Taking this time off was really eye-opening to me, and it's definitely what I want to keep doing. So like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this. Sucks that I was up like $1,700 and watched it all get blown up in flames in one hand. But that's what happens when you play massive pots. Sometimes you just have to have them go your way. But we fought back, in for 1,500, and for 1,500, in for 3,000, out for 47.38. Even got like a little massage there and everything. So made pretty much $1,800 in profit today over 8 hours. Played 8 hours exactly. So would love to keep playing, but I have somewhere I have to be. The game is so good, it kind of pains me to leave, but that's just the way it is sometimes. I'm gonna cut this to an ending. I'm sure this is a long video, but as always, I appreciate you guys so much, and I look forward to bringing you more content really soon, and I'll see you on the next one.